We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone. We want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Harbinger Theater. They have a production of Stephen Adly Guirgis' Pulitzer Prize-winning play Between Riverside and Crazy, performing from July 18th to July 27th at Albany Civic Theater. Between Riverside and Crazy tells the story of Walter Pops Washington, an ex-cop and recent widower who, with his recently paroled son Junior, struggled to hold on to one of the last rent-stabilized apartments on Riverside Drive. The old days seem to be dead and gone for the two as old wounds are opened, sketchy new house guests turn up, and a final ultimatum is delivered. There's a free preview on July 17th and talkbacks on the 18th and 25th. Tickets are only $15. And now, back to the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
everything theater from A to Z all around the place. Hi, everybody. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And we're really, look, I think I've been saying it all the time. We're really excited with our guest today because, well, we are. We've got the most fabulous Martha Banta with us today. She was the founding artistic director, 13 seasons at the Adirondack Theater Festival. And her resume reads like a who's who and a what's what of everybody who's ever done anything fabulous all around the country. And for a lot of folks who don't know, and Rent got its start under your tutelage. And now you're back in town and you're in charge of a musical called Gutenberg, the musical.
Yes.
Martha, Gutenberg?
Yeah, it's a really fun, funny musical about these two aspiring musical theater writers who have decided to write their first musical about Johann Gutenberg and the printing press, which is a pretty bad idea, but they did it anyway. And they are presenting it as part of the show. They're presenting it to what they think is like a backers audition, and there's Broadway producers in the audience that might move the show to Broadway, and they've spent all their money on renting the theater for the night, and they're gonna, kind of explain the whole story and play some of the characters, and it's hilarious. And it's also like, it's full of heart. It touches on things that are going on today, and it's just a really good laugh, and everybody seems to. I mean, last night was our first preview, and people just were, as I say, it's like your face hurts from laughing and smiling through the whole thing, So I just feel like it's what we need right now in the world.
Ellen and I have been talking with producing artistic directors for many, many months all over the country. And to a person, they will say that audiences want happy right now.
Yep.
Would Gutenberg, and we're going to assume that it's going to make a big splash, would it have been as welcomed at any other time as compared to now?
I think so. I mean, obviously, all programming at theaters goes through waves, right? As we go through things, and even for Adirondack Theater Festival, we started out doing, and we still are, but new, our focus is new work and contemporary work, things that have been done in the last 5 to 10 years, kind of thing. And that was very unique at the time. Excuse me. It was very unique at the time. But now
could you use a cup? Yeah.
So many more theaters are including new work in their season, so like things definitely go through phases and change. And I think right now, it's just, there's so much uncertainty in the world and in the world of the arts too, that getting to just go to something that makes you forget it all, is, I think what people, if they're also trying to decide what they're going to spend their money on, and, they're going to go to have a really good time, a good laugh. That seems to be what people are looking for.
Take us through the process of getting Gutenberg to this moment.
Well, Miriam Weisfeld, who runs the Adirondack Theater Festival now, she asked me if well, I had sort of been talking to her about things she was considering doing, and this was one of the things. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I saw it in New York. It was on Broadway in 2023 with Josh Gad and Andrew Reynolds playing the lead." And I said, I thought it was just going to be sort of a celebrity piece for them, but the writing of it and everything, it just is so funny. I said I loved that show, and she's like, "Oh wow, really? Do you want to direct it?" I'm like, "Sure." So that's how I ended up doing it. And then we've just started rehearsals 2.5 weeks ago or something like that, 3 weeks ago, and after doing some casting, and it's two actors. The music director is in it a little bit as a character too, and they've been incredible, just incredible actors in it, and just on it. And we've been having a great time, carving out all the comedy we can find, and laughing our way to opening night, as I say.
And in the Broadway
Have there been
production, if I'm correct, there was kind of a rotating door of some little surprise cameos. Are there any little surprises, or are we not allowed to say?
No, we've gone back and forth if we're allowed to say, but I think anything to get people to come see the show, we should say it, right? So, yes, every night there's a cameo appearance, and on Broadway it was people like, you know, I don't know, famous Hillary Clinton and Anna Wintour and Steve Martin and stuff like that. So we've done our slight version of that with sort of like local people from Glens Falls and stuff. That's last night was our first night, and we had Diana Palmer, she just won the Democratic primary for mayor of Glens Falls. So, so we had her in the show last night as a cameo, and we will have more exciting people to come. So you have to come and see who it is.
and it's a good reason to come back and see it more than once. What's the run on this, Martha?
Well, it started last night. It'll go till the 18th, and it's a 2-hour show.
Where does it go from here?
Well, I mean, different than other shows we've done at ATF, which is a new piece. We'll be the first ones to do it, and then it will have come further along, and either it'll continue to workshop or be produced, at other theaters. And since this is not new, since it was already on Broadway, it's a published piece. Our production is not slated to then move to somewhere else. Although I think it should. So if anybody needs a two-person show that's really funny, we've got it all packaged for you.
And
So
that's the other aspect of theater now. It's not expensive. It's two people.
yeah, yeah, we have to do it. I mean, we'd love to. It's really great with two people, but I think everybody would like to be doing those shows that have 12, 15, 20, but we can't do that right now. There's hope for the future, but I think a lot of people are, especially for a musical, it's hard to find small ones that really pull people in. So and it doesn't, I mean, it was on Broadway, but it has a name a little bit, but it's not like doing Hamilton or something where, woo, this is a real name, or Mamma Mia, for instance, or something. It's the name of the piece will sell itself. And
And you
this,
were involved with Mamma Mia.
yes, it's actually kind of overlapping with me right now because it's the tour that I directed in 2023 is basically making a stop on Broadway for 6 months, and it will open on Broadway on the 14th of August. First performance the 2nd of August. So this finishes on the 18th, and by the 2nd of August we'll have our Mamma Mia up on Broadway. So it's not a lot of time in between, but it is already all worked out because it's been on tour, and it's a fabulous cast. Like, I'm so excited for this cast. And it's coming back to the Winter Garden Theater where it started on Broadway. So, and again, it falls right into that. This is what people want. When we put the tour back out, we were like, okay, do people want to see this again? The rights have been released to so many I mean, anybody who did it, community theater or professional theater or high schools, it was their number one selling show kind of thing, you know. So a lot of people have seen it on in a lot of different places, including the movies. So, you know, I think when the tour went back out, it's like, will people buy tickets? And it's been gangbusters. And I mean, I worked on it since the beginning in New York, and it's the audiences right now, like at the downbeat, they're screaming. Do you know? So it's like, oh my God, they really, really want this, you know? So we're
It's
excited to bring
familiar.
it to New York. What's that?
It's familiar.
Yes, exactly.
You know, Mary Callanan, who was Mama Rose at Capitol Rep in Gypsy a
Yes.
number of years ago, I know has been in the show.
Yes.
Um, is she part of this go round?
She's not part of this go round, but she has been on tour and on Broadway. So she was I believe she was the closing, like when it closed, she was the closing Rosie on Broadway.
Yeah,
And she's so great. She's so great. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm curious with a company that isn't a lot of times an incubator for a lot of new work, but in the current climate, I mean, we hit COVID, obviously took a huge hit on theaters, and we were recovering from that. And just as things are kind of getting maybe back to normal, then we're hit with budget cuts and funding issues. So tell us a bit about like where you think the future of developing new work versus keeping a theater afloat. Where do you think everything lands?
Yeah, I feel like I have this conversation a lot and it's circular, you know, like we kind of say, well, this, well, this, well, this, but also this. I mean, trying to figure out why people aren't coming back yet or why they're not coming back in the same way or in the same numbers. There's so many different factors of like, it was like, oh, they don't want to leave their house at first with COVID, you know, and then it was, you know, prices might be too high, but if we make them too low, we can't afford to produce it, and then you do get the funding cuts, and then you know, so and then is it about just giving happy no name, you know, things and not doing new work, and that just seems like, well, that's not what our mission is. So how, you know, and I sort of feel like we're we're having to wrestle with this for however many years, you know. Now we're in year 5 and like still trying to figure out some of this, and it's I haven't found the answer. I mean, I think the interesting thing is like for New York, for Broadway, that's pretty much come back. I mean, it's still not to the, you know, pre-pandemic, but it's doing well enough, certainly. But I think all the regional theaters, the size of like Capital Rep, of us, of others, you know, they are kind of in the middle there, and they aren't getting the big funding or as much big funding from some of the big companies, and people are pulling back on donations, and subscribing is not what it used to be either. People don't want to commit to, you know, a whole season's worth of shows. And for us, we're also battling summer. So we're in summertime, so you've got people that don't want to commit until they know they're gonna like not be on Lake George that day or whatever the weather, you know, those kind of things. So it's really unpredictable. And I feel like we're having to pivot constantly and just throw ideas at the wall and say, well, what if we do this? And I still think right now we still think our best marketing is word of mouth, you know, because marketing is also fractured everywhere, right? There's social media, and also used to be you'd get it in the paper and boom, everybody knew about it. And now you just have to scramble to make sure you're covering all your bases.
Would Rent have been the breakout hit that it was in this time? And it's almost hard to say because it really redefined a genre
Yeah.
of musical theater and how people perform too.
Yeah. Yeah. It, yeah, it is hard to define. I mean, I will say none of us, when we were working on Rent originally, expected it to be what it ended up being. Like we knew it was a like really great show, great music, and as you know, the plot went through a lot of changes to try to smooth it out. And so we were probably had our heads more in that than we did about like, oh, we're creating a blockbuster or something. And it was a downtown theater, and we thought maybe it will move to another downtown theater that's a commercial space and run there. And the fact that it went from, you know, New York Theater Workshop, which has like 300 seats, to Broadway, and it was a show about people with AIDS and a drag queen and just so many things are like, this is going to Broadway? Like, how is that possible? So at that time, it was more about the content than anything else. And now I don't think that's as well, I don't know. We've kind of gone back a little too, but I don't think that's as an issue as it was. And I'm surprised. I'm actually seeing a lot of productions pop up lately of Rent, of theaters doing it. I mean, it is also like 15 people, and it does have some name recognition, so it's a smaller ish musical. So maybe that's part of it. But I think it's also about artists trying to pull together and get through life. And I feel like we're all doing that in this business. So maybe that has something to do with it.
At the Fort Salem Theater, not all that far, they're doing Tick Tick Boom coming
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
which is the precursor, in
Right.
essence.
Yes. Yeah. I did a production of that just a couple years ago at Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera, and I had never done a production of that. We did it here at ATF. It was our very last show we did at ATF, but I didn't direct it because, well, the composer Jonathan Larson, who passed away. So I knew him and was friends with him because we had worked with all that. So even in 2007, I was like, I can't direct this. This is too close to me. So it took until just a couple years ago that I felt like I could do it, and it was really wonderful to go back and weird because it is his life story, but it was wonderful to do it. Enough time had passed. I think it's a brilliant piece. The movie's really terrific. I don't know if you saw the movie, but I think that's even I don't want to say a step better, but a step deeper, than the musical, which was, really great too. So I got to get over to Fort Salem and see
There you go. Right.
it.
Attracting a young audience is
Mhm.
also a challenge now. And that goes to part of the subscriber base because as the older audience is aging out and we're losing them,
Yeah.
how do you entice a younger audience who jumps in and out of streaming services? Oh, I like what they've got now, and I'll take the free, and maybe I'll buy it for another month. I'll get rid of that because you guys have something else, and I'll buy this. It's a whole different zeitgeist, you
It
know.
is. It is, and it's expensive to even like we've talked about ticket prices up here. If you have a $50 ticket price and you've got professionals doing the show that would be, you know, doing it in New York, and that ticket price would be way more. So it seems like a bargain. But for young people to in their 20s who say, "Oh, I really want to see the show, but that's a lot for me." And in times when we've offered a pay what you can night or come to our dress rehearsal or whatever, they show up. And it does have to do with can they afford it. And on the other hand, I also feel like my whole life I've been hearing that like theater is made up of only older people in the audience. Well, eventually, so the younger people get older and either start going to theater or there's enough of them that kind of pushes forward. Um, but yeah, I think if you can do a mix in a season of shows that would appeal, some of them might be more youth centered. You're going to start to get some of that. Um, but it may just be that the older folks have more time and money to be able to go. I mean, ultimately, um, I mean, if we could make it free for all, like in Europe, it would be a totally different.
And if you look at Broadway this last season, I mean, Othello, Picture Dorian Gray, I mean, tickets going for $600-700. So I don't know, thoughts about accessibility to this theater. What can we do?
Yeah, I know. I know. And it's if we're not if we're not paying for theater through tickets because we want to keep them super low, then we've got to look somewhere else. And those sources right now are not there either.
Right.
Government sources and grants and corporation sources and individual donors. All of that has shrunk. So it's I don't know. I makes you want to go see a show that'll make you laugh and forget your troubles. I guess.
Get back to it. Martha, what do you like? What setting do you like working in? Is it the small or the medium regional theater, New York? Talk to us about your process and what you're looking forward to next.
Yeah, I don't think I really differentiate it in terms of spaces. Sometimes it's about how far away it might be from something else that's, going on personally. But uh, I mean, I really like doing new work. I really like working with a writer if I can. I like to bring something to the stage that's never happened before in that way. And I mean, I think in New York it's more complicated, and I guess there can be more reward depending on success. But I think up here, like at ATF or when I've directed at Capitol Rep and other regional theaters, it's uh, the connection you have specifically to the audience, that it's not just masses of people like in a Broadway show, and it's really cool that they return and they might seek you out, and they really do contribute to feedback, especially with new work. And I think that's imperative, that we're not doing this in a vacuum. The audience is, as we all say, right? It's the final character. But sometimes I feel like we pay lip service to that, and it's just really good to get feedback. And I think that's an easier, more honest thing to do, like through a regional theater, than on all that chat or something. All those Broadway sites that do that. So
And you're based in the city, right?
yeah, although I will say that lately I've been upstate for almost half the time this year, both trying to help out at ATF a little bit as we figure out how to, push forward in any way I can. And just personally, my mom's getting older, and so I'm here to help her out a lot. So I've been back and forth more this year probably than other years, but based in the city, and feel very fortunate that I sometimes I'm here and I can't wait to get back there, and sometimes I'm there and can't wait to get out. And you know what I mean? It's not one or the other for me. I have to have them both.
So
And
it's like having vanilla and chocolate.
yes,
You have to
exactly.
pick one. How did growing up in the area shape you artistically?
Um, Well, for one, I ended up in the Lake George School District, which is a very small school. Like I graduated high school with 86 people. So what that does, I think, is it gives you more opportunity. You don't have competition as much probably. So like I was able to do more because it was available to me. I'm imagining anyway. Certainly that's big fish, small pond compared to then you move to New York and you're like, you're nobody. And but a big part of what I did when I was young up here was I did the Lake George Youth Theater program, which was still running up until COVID, and then after that it stopped. So it was, I think, in its 44th year, and with the same people who ran it, Mickey Luce, and in fact, my son, who's now 20, so probably when he was like 12 or 13, he ended up doing it with the same people. So so that was very formative, because it was a program where everybody, got parts in. There were three musicals for the month of July, and you did a musical a week, and you had to come with your parts memorized and your costumes ready to go, and got kind of thrown together. But everybody really learned the all hands on deck, and you have to support each other. And occasionally on shows you might not be in it, but you might run a spotlight or something like that. And I started to really like those things where I could step out and look at the whole thing instead of be in it. And that was when I just started to realize, like, I think I wanted to direct. And so it really had a direct influence on me to be in that program. Yeah.
There are a lot
It,
of
oh,
training programs in the area. What would you say is kind of the most important things to incorporate in those training programs for young artists?
Yeah. I mean, if they're, hmm, mean, I guess I think about what I did, which was like exposure to all parts of theater, and it wasn't just about trying to get the lead in the play, you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. I think that's really great. But I know some people, I know everything's a little further along, like even like the Jimmy Awards and everything. Like that's more competition. So people are getting coaches and this and that just to get in these programs. And I understand that's where it's gotten to, but it does make me miss the sort of community and camaraderie of why you sort of do these programs with each other. Uh, but I guess if somebody's super serious about it, then and absolutely pursue it, as much as you can because it is competitive. And then once you leave school, you would be that much further ahead.
It's
Yeah.
funny you say that. I was one of the judges for the High School Musical thing,
Yeah.
and the kids came off the stage and didn't go to their parents. They went to their coaches who were
Um,
in the audience. And I'm like, this is not my High School
yeah,
Musical.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you're lucky if you folks came one night, you
Right,
know,
right.
and it is very different.
Yeah.
Um, and that probably is also part of what shapes a youthful audience as compared to the over 55, 60 crowd.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like if you compare it to sports and did you play sports just to, be doing something with friends and then eventually you become serious and you're trying to go pro, you know what I mean? It's like a different thing. But if you played in the beginning and, now I know something about baseball, so I watch the baseball game or whatever. You can turn into those patrons of the arts in that way if you experienced it at a younger age. Definitely.
So you've got this,
Mhm.
Mamma Mia. What else is on your schedule coming up?
Well, let's see. Right after Mamma Mia opens, I'm doing a reading of a new musical in New York, and it's with a writer I've worked with before, and when he's adapted a play into a musical, and we're at and I say a reading, it's really just for us to really hear it out loud for the first time so it's at the very beginning stages. And then there's another play that I did a reading of in I want to say like a month ago, maybe early June. And that um, is going to happen in February, not a full production, but like the next step of that, kind of a workshop thing that's going to happen in February. Uh, there's probably other things like that. I do a lot of that, a lot of like new work let you know let's get together, hear it out loud, do that. Are we doing this one to invite producers? Or are you sending it to this theater to see if they would want to do it? A lot of that trying to get it done as much as working on the script and directing it as well. And then once Mamma Mia opens in New York, I still go and I check on it every whatever 3 weeks or something like that. And if it's only going 6 months, so it's going to run until February, and then it's going back out on the road. And my guess is these people who just did the road and then did Broadway for 6 months are not going to sign up again to go back out on the road, or not all of them for sure. So I think I'll be in auditions in the late fall for the tour as well, and then um, that will go into rehearsal in January into February because they go right away once it closes in New York. It picks up and takes off. So because these theaters want even ones we've been to in the last year and a half, they're like, when are you coming back? We sold so many tickets. So they're clamoring for it, which is nice. Yeah.
And with your new work that you work with, obviously every story is different,
Mm.
but the shows that do eventually make it to a professional production, what would you say is the average timeline? Say someone comes to you and says, "Here's my first draft of this." Are we talking months, years? What's the typical experience for someone with a new play?
It's never months in my experience. I mean, unless you're somebody like well known and they just want to do your next play no matter what, you know. But I think for your average playwright, it takes longer to work it out just as a play and go through rewrites and things and some readings. And then I think the long part is the development with trying to find a producer, a space, a theater that's interested, and then they might want to have readings and workshops and, test it out and all of that. I used to say when I was at ATF, one of my favorite things was saying to a writer, we're producing this. And they're like, wait, like a full production? I'm like, yes. It's that because I feel like a full production at ATF is like having, you know, a reading or a workshop, readings and workshops somewhere else. And it's like you can learn so much quicker if you're actually having to make transitions and using the lights and do like that, those next phases, like you can only get so far. And so you can push it along faster. I mean, the script to me has to be in a place where like it's working, like I don't want to put up a half-baked thing, but if the script is working, I want to get it up there and do the next step. It's so frustrating for writers who, you know, they keep getting offered readings but again, it's too expensive to do full production. So a lot of theater, I mean, we are at ATF, we've been doing a concert series now the last 3 years where it's a new musical that's staged as, with music stands and that kind of thing. It's like a week's rehearsal. It's new, they're making changes, but it's completely performed and there is some lighting and great sound and everything. And we can do that with like a bigger cast and you can get a full experience of the story, but you won't have all the moving parts of a set and everything like that. But it feels like we're giving new work, we're giving a big cast, we're giving great performances. So we're like just shy of the next step right now for some of this. But I mean, there are literally musicals that we couldn't then produce next year sometimes because they would cost too much, in terms of that many actors on salary for many more weeks instead of just one week. So yeah.
I'm looking at the clock. That's one of my other jobs here. Ellen, we're just under 8 minutes, and we learned a little bit about how you got started, but Ellen's got this is Ellen's specialty.
this, this is the end of episode quick fire question all about you, Martha. It's called the close-up segment.
Okay.
So, are you ready for your close-up?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh, good. So you talked a little bit about your experience going through that training program. Was that the moment when you knew I have to do theater, or was there one very defining moment in your life that just made you know this is it?
I think it was that program. I don't remember a moment in that program. There probably was a moment of like, oh, wait, you could do this for a living, then I'm in. So, but I don't remember a specific moment during that time, but it was during that time.
Is there a certain show that has had a huge impact on your life, whether it's something that you worked on or just experienced?
Um, there's so many. I mean, they're just so different. Obviously Mamma Mia has been the longevity. Rent was the first time I worked on a show that then was like on Broadway and tours and things like that. I had never done that before. But I mean, I think with the Adirondack Theater Festival, the first time we did a show in what was then the empty Woolworth store before we made it into a theater. It was a production of Three Tall Women, and we were one of the first ones to get the rights to it after it came off Broadway. And it was an extraordinary production and experience. So that one really sticks in my mind, and it feels like the real start of ATF too. And now it's 31 years later, so it's important. Yeah.
Are there any bucket list shows that you haven't worked on yet that like one day?
Like I say, it's mostly for me about new work is my bucket list shows. I mean, we did something in 2021. I took over as artistic director for a year as we were, one left and another one was coming in and we were searching. And I did a production of something called Traffic and Weather that I'd worked on with Adam Schlesinger, who is a composer, and he was in the band Fountains of Wayne. I don't know if you guys know that band. Stacy's Mom is their big known thing. But anyway, we worked on this piece, and he passed away from COVID on April 1st.
Mm.
And so it never like came to fruition, and we did a sort of concert version of it at ATF. And I would love to still be able to do that show, even though he's not here. But it's a lot about lawyers and things like that, so it hasn't happened. But that would be my bucket list.
Straight plays versus musicals. If you had to pick one.
God, I can't pick. The best writing. I want the best writing.
That's writing. I like that.
Oh, you can run for office.
Yeah.
And then if someone came to you and said, I think I really want to pursue theater, what would you say to them?
I would say do it. I mean, I know a lot of people say like, well, make sure, which is true. Like, however many of the people that go to pursue it, don't make it. It's a crowded field out there. But I also feel like I'd rather try something and fail than not try at all. So like that, I just think that in general. So, I'd say go for it, and obviously get as much information as you can to be smart about it in terms of like, you know, giving up things in order to do it. But yeah, and there's so many jobs in the theater. Like you might think you want to be an actor because that's our way into things, but then so many other jobs. You can still be around the theater, part of the community, and all of that might scratch that itch if you end up not, succeeding in the place you wanted to.
I just walk through doors. That's what I always tell kids. We think life's a straight line, but you just walk through the door and maybe you get the opportunity to direct and you go, wow, I always thought I really wanted to put on all the makeup and the headdress. And you
Right.
go, this is it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So Gutenberg the musical runs through the 18th Adirondack Theater Festival. There's still some tickets,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but
There's
buy them fast.
buy them fast. Yeah. I mean, this week's going fast. There's more in next week, but yeah, come to also Glens Falls. Downtown Glens Falls is become this charming downtown with amazing restaurants. So come and eat something and see a show.
Well said. And then, do you have a favorite? We're going to ask you. There's a lot of places to eat.
Yeah,
It's all
there are
good.
a lot. There are a lot. I can't do that to our sponsors.
Bring them all.
Yeah.
Martha Banta, thank you so very much. I know carving out the time for us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's word of mouth that sells tickets. So from your mouth to the ticket sales and
Yes.
ours,
Yes.
and here we go.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. And to our listeners, we'll catch you next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. Be well and go buy tickets.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.